to sometimes to involve the participation from the local, because we want to know the local knowledge, the traditional knowledge, because the geographical is different from one place to another place. So the measures are not adapted. So when they do a measurement, so the measures are not adapted to the specific conditions. So the population does not support the measures ordered from the top, and no inter-jurisdictional cooperation is intended in this planning model. So if you can analyze the central assumption and then the role of planner and then the criticism, you know where is the heavier weightage of these boxes. So when if the criticism is more heavy, is heavier, then we know that this kind of approach are no longer relevant in today's world. Okay, so then comes the incremental approach. So of course, incremental planning is the most widely noted alternative model to comprehensive rational planning. So in the early 1900s, we see the emerging of incremental approach, because we want to improve the rational comprehensive approach. So this kind of approach, it is on a pragmatic piecemeal approach to developing solutions to problems as they arise, rather than planning for them in comprehensive, overarching way as rational planning does. Like the rational planning and rational comprehensive, they look at a very comprehensive in general. So they just look at all the problem, all the issues, and come up with the best solution for all of the issues. So that is rational comprehensive. But the incremental, pragmatic, piecemeal approach, meaning that the other issues have different solution. So pragmatic piecemeal. So pragmatism. So pragmatism is about you adapt. The solution is adaptive. So you adapt your solution, your ideas based on the specific conditions of the issues and problem. And that is pragmatism. Pragmatism piecemeal approach, meaning that they did it in a piecemeal, meaning that they don't look at all the problems as one that need one solution, because every problem have different solutions. So that is incremental approach. The concept behind the incremental approach. Okay, so the central assumptions, pragmatic piecemeal approach to developing solutions to problem as they arise, rather than planning for them in a comprehensive overarching way. So meaning that in incremental approach, they try to they solve problem when the problem arises. So they don't plan earlier. They don't plan ahead. If anything, if any problems come up later, then this incremental approach comes in. So that is the central assumption of the incremental approach. Incremental, meaning that they need to see the problem first. They need to see the issue first. Then they can plan, or they can decide. Its principle is that humans have a limited capacity for solving and understanding problems in comparison to the vast and expansive list of current and future obstacles that are trying to be resolved. So in planning, we plan because if we want to plan, we need to assume. So that is why sometimes in the rational comprehensive planning, they need to try to assume, but the assumption is that their goal is that they took it as a very general, all problems in one solution. But still we need to plan. If we are given an empty land, so we were given and then we are asked to plan for this whole new township. So we need to plan what kind. We need to assume But in incremental approach, their principles is that humans have a limited capacity for solving and understanding problems in comparison to the vast and expansive list of current and future obstacles. So they cannot foresee the future obstacles. Not that they cannot foresee. They say that let's because their principle is that they need to the approach is to develop solution to problem as they arise, not before the problems are emerged. So that is quite contradictory to planning, urban planning. So that is why we call plan, because we need to plan before we design, something like that. So there are different views and interests as well as multiple problems. Big changes are carried out best in little, practicable steps over a long period, leading to satisfying results. So their central assumption is that big changes are carried out best in little, meaning they are very the principle is very on this piecemeal punya concept. So they need to do big changes on by little, but specifically by focusing on each problem, each issues. So that is the incremental approach. So if you want to design a new township, a new like a super corridor, I think this incremental approach is not really suitable, but it can be applied in a place where there is already a development. Then we need to and then we need to plan for the future development of that area by trying to solving the current issues. So that we can use this kind of theory. But if you're given an empty land to build a new township, for example, this is of course this is not really a suitable or relevant theory. So the assumption of role of the planner simplifies the complex world to an easier model. Often does not know the right problem and thus is not always able to determine a clear definition of goals and measures, and thus try to find a satisfactory solution rather than the best one. So the planner is considered less as the expert. In this role, comparison to the rational comprehensive theory, the planner is the the godfather. I mean the problem solver of every issues. But in this approach, in this theory, the incremental planning, the planner is considered less as the expert. Society can make a contribution to planning as the provider of information. So they're not really involved in participate, but they can provide information. So that's why they said that the planner is considered less expert, because they in this approach they need information from society. And then what are the criticism on this approach? No radical changes are possible. They said there are no radical changes because it's just because you are doing a piecemeal solution, so you cannot see really a radical change. So solutions cannot be optimized. The focus is on what can be implemented. So the focus is on what can be implemented. So it is really on very specific. Only a few options are considered and evaluated. So there is no clear determination of goals and objectives because it is a piecemeal approach. So no clear determination of goals and objectives. Rather, they are determined by a mixture of intuition, of experiences, rule of thumbs, and a series of consultancies. So these are the incremental approach downside, the downside of incremental approach. Okay, any question you can ask that while while giving the lecture? And then the third one, the transactive approach. So when we talk about transactive, it's like we are doing transaction. The bank transaction, bank transaction meaning that you want to have you want to withdraw money. So then that is the transaction. You're given the online transaction. So meaning that the other people will give you the thing that you want. So it is a transaction. So transaction, when we talk about transactive, it doesn't mean a two-way. It can be one-way. So transactive planning model is based on communicative rationality. So mostly when you talk about transactive, it is a roundtable participative planning. But the focus is on transactive. It's not focused on communicative or participatory planning, because this type of rationality is based on human communication and dialogue between planners and the people affected by planning. So this is transactive approach. So it's not really a participatory planning where the people can involve with policy making, decision making, but this is between planners and people affected by planning. They communicate and have dialogues. For example, there's a given piece of land. There is a piece of land that will be developed as there are developers that want to develop that area to as a high-rise neighborhood. So there may be the people surrounded that piece of land may be affected. So this kind of approach is where they come and have a communication and dialogue with the surrounding people. So that is called a transactive approach. So the people